Q&A day here on the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show. Today's Q comes from @the_pretty_parlor_Phoenix, and she asked me, "Hi Tara, I have this nagging fear that our industry will go away for some reason. Like every time a client decides to stop getting lashes, or the fear of the economy going bad will make it hard for our industry to keep making money. When things pop into my head, I fear I need a backup plan outside of the lash industry plan outside of lashing. Does this ever happen to you, or am I just being wacko?" She said, now this question really stood out to me, the Lashpreneur, because I've heard whisperings of it on forums and in conferences just here and there, people being concerned that eyelash extensions are just a fad. And today we're going to address my take on whether eyelash extensions have an expiration date or if our industry is here for the long haul. So join me today on this episode as we uncover my A to @the_pretty_parlor_Phoenix's Q. Thank you for joining me today on another Q&A day. Now, it shouldn't be a secret to you, especially here in the US, that we are due for a recession. About every 10 years, we go through a recession. The last one was 2008. At the time of this recording, it's 2018. So we are due for a recession to happen. Now, this can cause a lot of panic in a lot of investors and a lot of people who own homes or want to own homes, the housing market, all that kind of stuff, because what happened in 2008 was very traumatic to a lot of people. They lost their home. I, for one, was laid off in 2008. So I had a direct tie to the recession. I was working at a nonprofit, and what's the saying? It's last hired, first fired. Well, I was the person who was last hired, and 3 months later I was let go, which led me kind of to really start to explore what do I want out of life, and also knowing that even if you are moving forward in a career path, it can be taken away from you. So I think the real question that the Pretty Parlor Phoenix is trying to get at, more so than just is there an expiration date for the lash industry, is if I invest my time and energy and money into being a lash artist and a business owner, which is a luxury service, is it going to be able to support me long term? Or is it a waste of time, energy, money, resources, because it's all going to come crashing down when the economy tanks again? Because her concern was that people are going to give up lashes as the first thing that goes when money starts to get a little tight. So it's not up for debate. We will go through a recession. Every country will go through a recession at some point. We will see many of them in our lifetime. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper about what the Pretty Parlor Phoenix's worst case scenario was, so that we could start to maybe uncover some truths or some fears that she's made up in her head. So she said, let's say the economy takes a dump again. People need to cut back on their extras, like lashes. So maybe instead of every 2 weeks, they're coming every 3 to 4 weeks, which was fine according to her. But what if they decide they just need to stop lashes altogether for the time being? She said, I know having finances in order is the best buffer for her as a business owner, or having savings and a low overhead, but it doesn't solve the issue of less business in general. It's just a big, fat, scary thought. I agree when you're looking at it this way. And she also said, I suppose having alternatives like lash lifts as an option could help, but she loves lashes and she doesn't want to transition her business over to just lash lifts. She really wants to continue with extensions. And she said, I believe lowering prices for times like those is a no-go. I would never want to consider that as an option, just putting that out there. So I think that there are a lot of lash artists who have very similar views to her, who also don't want to have to lower their price or undercut their prices based on the recession. So what do we do as a luxury service? I couldn't agree more. We are a luxury service. We are not a commodity. A commodity is something like milk or gas or, having a roof over your head. Something that people need, where people don't need eyelash extensions. It is a luxury service. So I've got a couple of points I want to touch on with my perspective of it. Now, I tend to not take the victim or the fear or the worry and feed into it. I try to, and again, I'm not perfect at this, but I try to look at what I can control. So in preparing for a recession, we are headed that way. What can you control? So let's face it, the economy is not within our control. We can't control what happens with the markets. We can't control with price points, inflation, taxes, all that kind of stuff. So what can we control? We can control now preparing for a rainy day by way of savings. How many of you, as soon as you get a little extra cash or you had a really good month, you spend that money as quickly as it came in? Whether you're investing in a new training, you got an extra $200 a month and you went and bought yourself a really nice purse. How many of you never have enough in savings? So say something happens in your business and you need to replace something that's $500 or $1,000, or all of a sudden, your landlord kicks you out and you have to go put down a first month and last month's deposit on a new space. How many of you have a little bit of extra cash waiting around for a rainy day? That would be the first thing you can control, is to start saving, even if it's just a little amount right now, because I know a lot of you aren't even paying yourself much. Start saving so that when times get a little bit more tight, or there is the rainy day, right? We don't plan for it, but we are anticipating that we're going to need a little extra cash in the future because stuff happens, recessions happen. Then you can start to do that now by either little bits and gradually grow over time how much you're saving and putting aside. What else can you control? Oh, this one's gonna hurt. Not living outside of your means and not accruing a bunch of debt. Now, I have been asked a lot of questions, especially when I start to bring in finances. Should I take out a business loan so that I can get into a bigger space and do renovations and do, decor and all of this stuff, which I always just am not a fan of debt. I myself, we have a little bit on a credit card that we pay off, and then we have our cars, and then we have our house. And even with our cars, we have one paid off and one that we're working towards paying off. I'm not a fan of people accruing a lot of debt because, at least here in the US, 80% of people live paycheck to paycheck. 80% of people do not have enough of a buffer that if they were to lose a job, like I did when the economy tanked, that they don't have the means of paying for bills for several months until they find new employment or more income. So taking on a bunch of debt, putting a bunch of stuff on credit cards, taking out a loan from a bank are all ways that you can control what it is that you're spending. Yes, you want something now, but there's also this instant gratification that we really have to address in our society, that we want stuff now, but that doesn't mean that it's in our best interest to have it now. That it's in our best interest to be able to afford the things that are going to propel our business forward, to reap the rewards of a profitable business. But first and foremost is you have to have that profit in place in order to spend. And if you can't afford it now, then maybe you shouldn't be spending it, so that you don't get yourself in a tight spot. Things we can control: planning for the future. Like I said, saving, not accruing a bunch of debt, knowing what path you're going to take, knowing that you as a business owner, part of what you're signing up for by being in charge of the business is that you have to evolve and adapt your business as things change, right? Whether it's, the economy going through a recession, whether it's an algorithm change, whether Facebook and Instagram take away your ability to have any free advertising and all you have to do is paid, whether it's a new technique coming out or a hot new product, or maybe something goes viral in the media that is like negative against eyelash extensions. We always have to be adapting to what's going on around us and evolving our business so that it continues to grow and evolve with the times. Because how people ran a business even 10 years ago, 20 years ago is not the same as we run our beauty businesses today. Taking calculated risks. So starting a business right now is a risk. Starting a business at any point is a risk. So how can we minimize our risk and be able to manage the risk so that it still works out in our favor? I am all for people starting a business now. I'm all for people starting a business during a recession because it's going to teach you things. It doesn't mean that you fail. It means you're learning. Remember, I always coach on taking failure off the table, that it's not even an option. It's just a process of you becoming the successful entrepreneur, business owner, lash artist, what have you, as you go through failures and as you learn the lessons you need to learn to become that person. So what risks can you take that are not don't take out a second mortgage on your house in order to open up your lash business, but can you do lashes on the side while you're still working full time, and then maybe transition to a part-time job so you can have more time lashing? What are some calculated risks and minimizing our risks so that we can move our businesses forward? And last thing is, what else can I control? You can control that you can invest in yourself as a business owner and control the decisions you make in your business. Yes, the economy may play a part in your business. It probably will, for most of us, impact us some ways. Some people, they're going to have the best business and their best years ever during a recession. And some people are going to lose their businesses altogether and have to get out of the industry completely. So that leads me into the next thing is our industry recession proof? Which means that a recession doesn't have this negative effect on our industry overall. And I want to mention a theory called the lipstick effect. And this lipstick effect essentially is that women spend their limited resources on things that make them feel good and look attractive, because when something like the economy changes or tanks, the theory of this lipstick effect is that women are hardwired to look for a mate when resources are slim, right? It's kind of an evolutionary concept that, you know, when, I'm going to go back to evolutionary times, caveman times, when, you know, the crops weren't as robust as they used to be, it's better to have a community or a partner that can help bring in the meat, you know, the woolly mammoth or whatever. So this lipstick effect is basically saying that women in general tend to want to look and feel more attractive to attract a mate during economic recessions. I didn't make this up, guys, as a pseudo-feminist. This is kind of a weird philosophy, but it kind of makes sense. So there was a psychological study on this lipstick effect conducted by 4 universities here in the US. But in the psychological study, they reminded women that they're in a recession, and they measured the women's interest in purchasing luxury, attractiveness enhancing products like designer jeans, for instance. And they compared that to 2 classes of inexpensive control products. One, which was coffee, right? It doesn't make you feel more attractive, but it is kind of an indulgence if you're getting coffee outside of your house. And the other one was a discount brand of a attractive enhancement product like Walmart jeans versus designer jeans. The findings of that experiment on this lipstick effect is that women are seeking products that are more effective at enhancing their attractiveness, even if those products cost more during a recession, which means that, kind of how I loosely translate that to our lash industry, is that women would get rid of going out to expensive restaurants. They would maybe not take such elaborate vacations. They might opt for a staycation. They might, what are some other ideas? There are other things that they would give up. They would eat at home more than they would eat out, as opposed to something that made them feel good and increase their kind of self-worth, how they felt attractive first. I'm not saying that women wouldn't give up lashes. That is definitely a possibility. But here's the thing. If you are attracting a high-end luxury price-paying clientele, they are less, $100 to them is a lot less than somebody who is scraping together $100 every month to pay for their lashes, right? So when the economy tanks, even if they're losing $10,000 a month in their business, or their husband's business is affecting that, they're still going to see $100 as not that much money. Yes, they're losing a lot more, but their value of what it is that they're paying for is a lot less. If you have spent the next year, 2 years, however long till the recession hits, building up a very price sensitive clientele, and you're competing and discounting prices endlessly, you are going to have a huge problem when the recession hits, because those are going to be the people that are first going to drop off lashes because they simply can't not afford it. A higher price clientele is not deciding between lashes and food. A lower price clientele has to decide between being able to pay rent and make their car payment and lashes. So all the more reason not to be low price and not draw in the Walmart kind of lash clients, right? So lastly, let's touch on my kind of positive outlook for our industry once we go through a recession. I see a recession as a purification process of our industry. So our industry is still in its toddler years compared to other beauty services like hair and skin, but I don't see it going away anytime soon. I don't see this as something that fades away because it is so addictive and because it is so ongoing maintenance that women need to continue to do it in order to get that effect. you know, that would be saying that eyelash extensions would go away when our natural lashes could equal eyelash extensions. Well, there's Latisse out there, but that still comes at a cost, and it's still not a competitor to eyelash extensions in direct correlation. So eyelash extensions lasted through the last recession in 2008. I think eyelash extensions came into the US around 2002, maybe. Yeah, 2002 sounds right. So they lasted through the last recession, and they're even more popular now than they were before. So I tend to see that when we're going through a recession, as an industry, those who are just riding the meal train now because the recession, the economy is good, and there's a lot of money to be made in lashes, they're going to lose interest and move on to the next get-rich-quick scheme. Bye-bye. Those who don't truly care about the skill set, the artistry, the passion of it, or the business aspect of it will leave the industry for the next shiny, bright object. Bye-bye. And those who offer crap trainings, crap products, and crap lashes, just trying to make a quick buck off of somebody and ride the popularity of lashes, are going to be kicked out of the industry due to a lack of repeat customers who place more value on the money they're spending, because there isn't much money to go around, than they are, because when people are spending money that they don't necessarily have, they better get a result. It's an indulgence for them. And if somebody is offering bad trainings and it's not setting up a lash artist to be successful, they're not going to continue to get new students. Or they have to lower their prices so much that they're not even making money. When a client is spending money and their lashes are glued together, they can't justify continuing to spend that kind of money without getting the quality results that they're looking for. So once the economy kicks back up again after we've gone through the recession, I'm hopeful that we'll have a more purified community of lash enthusiasts, and this will up-level our suppliers, our educators, our artists, and our industry. Now, maybe that's me being really super optimistic, but I tend to see that people who aren't really committed to lashes, the artistry of it, and the commitment of running the business aren't going to last when times get tough. So what we're left with after we go through this kind of purification of a recession, we're left with some pretty awesome, badass lash sisters. Can I get an amen? So to summarize up, while I can't guarantee that your world or your business won't be turned upside down due to an economic recession, I can say with every confidence that if you commit to evolving and adapting as a business owner with any changes in our world, whether it's recession, algorithm change, a regulation change, a new technique or product, you will have long-term stability and success at whatever you do, whether it's being a lash artist, whether it's having a lash business, a product line, being a supplier, being an educator. But if you operate from a place of fear and worry, especially for things that are out of your control, you will continue to perpetuate that worry, and you may just bring to reality what it is that you're worried about. So I want you to tell me in the comments, do you think the lash industry is a ticking time bomb with an expiration date, or do you think it's here to stay? And if you want to be featured on our next Q&A day here at the Lashpreneur, go to thelashpreneur.com/coffee chat and ask your Lash Biz questionnaire. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. Have a good one.